Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is your deep dive into the source material you've shared with us.
And today, wow, we're looking at something truly unique.
We are. We're diving into A Simple's Life, the life and times of Aleksandr Orlov. It's quite a document.
It really is a memoir, but,
Yeah,
well, it covers centuries of meerkat history through one very, very specific lens.
exactly. So, our mission, as always, is to unpack the source you've given us. We want to dig into Alexander's story, pull out the key insights, maybe some surprising details.
Maybe even some lessons tucked away in there between the desert tales and the business advice.
Definitely. And the scope is huge, isn't it? We go from the Kalahari Desert, ancient ancestors.
Right through to Russian history, military battles, family drama, big highs, big lows.
And finally, the start of a modern business. It's quite the roller coaster.
It really is a whole saga.
Okay, let's start at the beginning of the book itself. Aleksandr Orlov, the author.
All right, he sets the scene. He's in Mirkovo, near Moscow. Successful business cat, lives in this huge mansion.
Very proud of his majestic posture, he makes sure to tell us.
He does, and he's pretty clear about why he wrote it, or,
Yeah.
dictated it.
Yeah, the dedication seems key. It's all for his ancestors, courageous, fearless, ambitious, all that.
It's a tribute, first and foremost.
Yeah.
But he also mentions wanting to inspire, the next generation.
The young business cats, yeah. Show them what hard work and good fur care can achieve.
Can't forget the fur care. And let's be honest, he mentions the practical side, too.
Oh, right, the royalties. For the mansion roof.
Remarbling the mansion roof, specifically.
Okay.
Got to keep up appearances.
A worthy goal. And he gives a big shout out to Sergeyza, his head of IT.
Essential Sergey. Recorded the dictation, typed it all up during his holidays, apparently.
Dedication on Sergey's part too, then.
Sounds like it. A real team effort.
So the story itself starts way back. Part 1, the journey of courageousness back in the Kalahari Desert.
Yeah, the ancestral home. He describes it as, well, simples, but quite established.
Big burrows.
Tastefully furnished, of course.
Yeah.
Meerkat style. Naturally. Days filled with digging for grubs, dust baths. Nights were for stories. Lots of stories about courage.
And he introduces 2 key figures right away, Kafensi Orla
The most courageous one.
and his companion Sari.
Ah, Sari. The description is quite something, isn't it? Gray, bedraggled, full of fleas.
Always busy with tweezers. Alexander definitely seems to be hinting at certain resemblances later on.
A little bit of foreshadowing, perhaps.
Yeah.
And the only real problem in paradise.
Mongooses.
Mm.
Always the mongooses. Sneaky, thieving.
And smelly, especially on windy days. That detail stuck with me.
Stinkiness does seem to be a recurring theme with them in this narrative, but otherwise, life was good.
Seemed idyllic. Lots of food, warm puddings, beetle juice, roasted scorpions.
Sounds appetizing. And Kafensi's famous last words, almost, "Ours is a simple's life. What could possibles go wrong?"
Yeah, you just know something's coming. And it does. A terrible famine hits.
Everything dries up, landscape turns gray, shrivelly, no food.
Kafensi searches everywhere, finds nothing. It sounds desperate.
And then the final insult.
The mongooses again. Sneaking in, stealing the last emergency supply. Tinned grubs.
Just typical mongoosery, as Alexander puts it. Nasty timing.
Absolutely.
Right.
So they're starving. The decision's made. They have to leave. Find somewhere new. Somewhere with rain, plants, grubs.
And so begins this epic journey, just walking for days.
With hardly anything. Just some beetle bits and Sari's gemstones, which you can't eat.
Right. Hunger is constant. They even try playing I Spy but get stuck.
As for sand.
Yeah.
For hours, you can imagine the frustration. Singing to keep sane, avoid desert craziness.
They're looking for signs, Hope. There's that cloud shaped like a claw.
Kafensi sees it as a good sign. Sari thinks it looks like a weird shoe. Different perspectives.
And then that shimmering in the distance. A mirage.
Turns out to be the sea and this empty town, the Queasy Mongoose Tavern. Great name.
There they meet this old muskrat.
Smelly, apparently.
Mm.
But he knows things. Knows about Bermuda Land of Plenty.
Or so he says. And a deal is struck.
Sari has to give up his treasured gemstones. For what? A map and a leaky boat.
A rotty boat with holes called the Courageousness. Oh, the irony.
So they set sail, but the map.
Complete puzzlements. Basically useless. Sari tries to plot a course anyway. To Bermuda, maybe?
Maybe. But weeks go by. They're just lost at sea. It's cold.
Surviving on ship's biscuits. Sometimes with maggots. Grim.
And poor Sari is terribly seasick, pretending he's looking for mermaids to cover it up.
But then, real danger. Mongoose pirates.
Yeah, huge ship, skull and crossbones, snarling pirates with cutlasses. Looks like the end.
But Kevens's quick thinking sees Sari looking absolutely wretched.
And shouts out a warning about Sari's terrible plague.
And Sari, whether it's allergies or just perfect timing, lets out this awful splutter.
Which does the trick. The pirates panic and flee, terrified of catching it.
Brilliant. A narrow escape, but they're still lost.
Floating for another whole month after that. Still no idea where they are.
Until, crunch.
They hit something, run aground, end of the ocean.
They manage to crawl ashore, totally exhausted, expecting Hardurula.
Nope, it's Russia.
Talk about a wrong turn. From tropical dreams to freezing reality, which sets up part 2 perfectly. The battle of fearlessness.
Exactly. Total shock. It's cold, soggy, they're starving. Kevens collapses almost immediately.
But not before tearing off a piece of the sail.
And wrapping it around his neck. The first ancestral cravat, according to Aleksandr.
Style born from necessity. And it's Sari, strangely energized.
By his personal lice supplies, the book says, who has to drag Kevens to a cave and find food. Roots, wood lice.
And they get help, right, from marmots.
Kind of marmots, yes. Sari uses gestures, somehow communicates their plight, needs this huge bucket of millipede goulash.
Amazing. And they mentioned the nonsense map to Bermuda. Seems it led them where they needed to be, just not where they thought they were going.
A key point there may be resilience isn't just pushing through, it's adapting when you land somewhere completely unexpected. Making allies.
For sure. So time passes, generations are born in Russia, they settle, they farm grubs, they have feasts again, escape the Kalahari hardship.
You know it's coming back.
The old enemy, the mongoose. Mid-1800s, rumors start swirling.
A whole horde of Mongolian mongooses this time, sweeping across the steppes.
And these aren't just any mongooses. They're bigger, meaner than the African ones. And their leader.
Mongoose Khan. Terrifying description. Almost 5 feet tall, claws like knives, and that unspeakable stink. Again, bent on conquest.
There's even a whole book about it mentioned, The History of the Mongoose Wars. This is serious.
And the Orlov leader at this time is Vitaly, Kevens's great-grandson. Fearless.
Apparently he wanted to be in the elite forces but had flat paws, so Mirkovo Home Guard it was.
Right, they had a banner and everything. Aleksandr still has it, apparently.
So they prepare for battle. Vitaly takes Sergeant Serge for one last drink.
Beetlejuice liqueur. Though Serge doesn't drink. But he gets Vitaly's list of requirements for battlefield comfort. Very important.
The Home Guard marches out, singing their battle song. They set up camp. Vitaly insists on good food first, citing that general's quote about armies and stomachs.
Finds the, quote, uncomfortables, though. And there's that little story about Private Potemkin.
Right. Fell asleep after too many cockroach ciders. Got put on beetle-peeling duty. Vitally showing his kind heart.
But then the attack.
Yeah.
It's a surprise. The mongooses slip past the main lines. They're heading straight for Mirkovo.
And they know it's Mongoose Khan himself because of the smell.
Vitaly has to rally the troops. Amazing battle cries. Once more into your britches.
And stiff your haunches, do not let them smell your fear. Classic Orlov motivation. It works. The meerkats find their courage.
The battle is fierce. All night long, they're outnumbered 20-1, outstinkt 100-1, apparently.
But Vitaly directs from the rear. Meerkats fight bravely. Sergeant Serge becomes a legend.
Takes out 57 mongooses. And a small bush after he lost his glasses.
Eventually, Mongoose Khan turns tail. The horde is defeated. Aleksandr even claims to have an actual horn from one of them.
The aftermath is cheers and groans. They find Vitaly seemingly down. Serge is distraught.
Wailing dramatically, only to find Vitaly was just napping.
Yeah, a minor wound from his scorpion fork, apparently. Serge is hugely embarrassed. Aleksandr apparently reenacts this scene sometimes.
Vitaly goes to hospital anyway and meets Valentina.
Beautiful Valentina, who nurses him back to health. They become intimateness. There's a hint about it on a hospital chart in the book.
And this victory changes everything for the family, doesn't it? The Tsar hears about it.
Tsar Alexei I. He rewards Vitaly, big time, the Order of the Popal Claw.
Russia's highest honor, which now sits on Alexander's desk.
And a massive mansion palace, built just for him in Mirkovo.
So this is huge. Military success leads to status, wealth. They return as heroes.
Pulled on a sledge by Serge, no less. Streets lined with cheering meerkats. A day of feasting and magnificence.
It really shows how courage, facing impossible odds, can totally shift a family's fortunes. But holding on to it, that's the next chapter. And Mongoose Khan is still out there, vowing revenge.
Exactly. Which takes us neatly into part 3. The streets of ambitiousness.
Starts well, though. Vitaly and Valentina's wedding. A huge, lavish affair in the new mansion.
famous Moscow chef, incredible menu, scorpion à l'orange, millipede thermidor, pricey Beetlejuice liqueurs, dancing, total luxury.
They settle in. Valentina becomes the shopping cat, filling the mansion with fine things. Vitally commissions paintings.
The start of the Orlov collection, which becomes famous later on.
And they have pups, twins, Ivan and Grigory.
And here's where the paths diverge. Grigory is grateful, hardworking. Ivan, not so much.
Lazy, sneaks out.
Yes, gets into gambling in Moscow, falls in with seedy muskrats.
Uh-oh, this sounds bad.
It is. In one night of baccarat, he gambles away the entire family mansion.
The whole thing, just like that.
Gone, which is apparently the origin of the phrase, never play baccarat with a muskrat. There's even a painting of the scene.
Wow. From riches to, well, not rags exactly, but they lose almost everything.
Left with just a few possessions. The purple claw, the paintings, some Beetlejuice and caviar. Ivan vanishes.
Any idea where he went?
Rumors swirl. Smuggling marmot pelts. Became a missionary monk. Nobody knows for sure.
So the rest of the family, Vitally, Valentina, Grigory, they have to start over.
They end up in a gypsy camp. A totally different world. Grub farming, dun dealings. But there's also merriment.
And they're accepted by the gypsy cats. Life finds a way.
And Grigory finds love there.
Yeah.
Meets Anastasia, a glamorsome gypsy cat. Instant connection.
They get married, simple wedding, ring of string, but very loud.
And they have a pup. Anton. Alexander's papa. Handsome, strong haunches. Vitally and Valentina are proud grandparents.
A moment of happiness then.
Sadly, short-lived. The furry terror arrives.
Oh no, what's that?
Some nasty government faction cracking down on gypsy camps, forcing everyone to grim city ghettos. A horrible condition.
And Vitally and Valentina.
They don't survive the ghettos, they die there.
Yeah.
Grigory, Anastasia, and little Anton are left mourning in a tiny apartment.
What a cycle. Opulence, loss, finding simple happiness, then devastation again.
It really hammers home how fragile status can be. Lost by recklessness, destroyed by outside forces. The real test is surviving when you have nothing left.
Which brings us to part 4, and the start of something completely new. The birth of the business.
Life in the ghetto is hard. Grigory and Anastasia work non-stop to provide for Anton.
Anton goes to school. He's bright, studies English, geography, literature, maths.
But he's lazy. Prefers throwing ink pellets at the studious kids. The SWAT cats.
Like Stanislav.
Exactly. Stanislav, the main target. But they strike a deal.
Stan does Anton's homework.
And Anton stops pelting him. An unlikely friendship begins.
And it's Anton and Stan who rediscover the paintings, the Orlov collection.
Yeah, rummaging through boxes left over from the mansion days. They start messing around, holding them up, asking which one is better, just for fun.
Comparing meerkats is born as a game between friends.
Get really into it. Start skipping school just to compare paintings.
Which inevitably leads to trouble.
They get caught. The punishment is classic, right? Comparing meerkats is not clever, and it is not funny 300 times. Parents are furious.
But Anton, he thinks there's actually something to this comparing idea, doesn't he?
He really believes in it. So much so, he runs away from home. Takes the paintings to Moscow to try and make it work.
Leaving poor Stanislav to break the news to his parents. Double furious now, presumably.
You can imagine so.
Oh,
Anton's
crap.
early attempts in Moscow are, well, a bit rough.
He tries being a magician's assistant, the great Ferdini.
Yeah, doesn't last long. Quits after his whiskers get nicked. Decides on a less scary career path.
Becomes a dishwasher, still practicing his comparing on the side.
Until he falls asleep on the job and gets sacked. Hits rock bottom, lying in a gutter.
But then, another chance encounter. A boxing promoter.
A big whiskery one with bad breath.
Yeah.
Tells Anton he's purpose-built for boxing.
So Anton becomes a boxer cat. Seriously.
Professional boxer cat. Wins his first fight against Masher Igorov. Manages to avoid damage to his snout. He keeps the door from the wolf. Pays the bills.
Just surviving. And then Stanislav finds him.
Good old Stan. Finishes school, tracks Anton down, moves into his basic bedsit. Loyal to the end.
And with Stan's support, Anton makes a decision.
Quit boxing. Give the comparing meerkats dream one more proper go.
They try selling the idea at the flea market again.
Yeah, Moscow flea market. Not for fleas, Alexander clarifies. Still no luck. People just don't get it.
Passerbys could not work out what point of comparing meerkats was. A direct quote, I think.
That's the one. They even resort to comparing creepy muskrat paintings in back alleys. A low point, a shameful time.
It really shows the struggle, doesn't it? Having an idea is one thing, making people see its value is another. The perseverance is key.
Absolutely. And the importance of having someone like Stanislav who believes in you.
And then, finally, the breakthrough.
The turning point. Mayor Maximandovich walks into the market.
With his daughter, Valeria, described as very beautiful.
Anton is immediately smitten. Totally tongue-tied, insides wobbly.
And she stops, right at his little cart, asks him to compare two paintings, Soldier Cat and Night Cat.
He holds them up, heart-pounding probably, and waits.
And her verdict.
The one in the middle. So simple. But for Anton, it's everything. Validation and love at first sight.
This is the beginning of his parents' romance. And the business.
Just explodes, goes through the ceiling, word gets out. Suddenly everyone wants their meerkats compared.
They sell the cart, buy the first proper compare the meerkat shop.
And his parents, Grigory and Anastasia, come to visit on opening day. A huge moment. Tears of pride.
Redemption. Status regained, not through inheritance or battle this time, but through Anton's unique idea and sheer persistence.
It's a powerful contrast to how Ivan lost the mansion. Success built from the ground up. The insight is definitely about belief, timing, and maybe a little bit of luck meeting the right person.
Which brings us finally to Alexander himself. Part 5. Alexander's life today.
And he doesn't undersell his own arrival. Born during thunderings and lightnings.
A specials pup. Clearly marked for greatness from the start in his telling.
Early signs were there, apparently. Fluent Russian by 2, counting grubs by 3, reading classics by 7.
Rating an epic novel by 9. His parents were, understandably, delighted.
He attended a very prestigious school, Madame Mierstropovich's Academy for Talented Meerkats.
For all the important families, and he was already showing entrepreneurial flair.
That homework business, homework done in exchange for tasty food things, had a whole rate card. Compared himself to a young Alan Sugar.
He spent time at Papa Anton's shop too, learning the business, watching Stanislav, hiding his spectacles. Typical kid stuff mixed with business apprenticeship.
School life sounds quite active. Amateur dramatics?
Doing Uncle Vanya, but adding a car chase he wrote himself, of course.
And sports.
Yeah.
Fencing, golf, archery.
But not boxing.
Definitely not box. I gotta protect the snout.
His real passion, though, was burro sleighing.
Right. Sitting on a sleigh, zooming down tunnels at danger speeds. Captain of the team, the Mierstropovich blurs.
Because they were so fast, you see. They beat everyone.
Until the finals.
Yeah.
The Russian National Burro Sleighing Championships. Against who else?
The mongoose slayers. Fat, heavy, smelly, but fast.
Alexander gives another stirring speech, echoing Vitaly. Stiff your haunches, put on your breeches. It's a tense race. But the blurs are nimble. Alexander leads them to victory, wins the trophy, parents bursting with pride. They sing the school song, Forever Furry.
Leaving school sounds quite emotional for him, saying goodbye before the Facebook is invented.
Then a bit of rebellion. Papa Anton wants him in business management at uni. Alexander wants to be a singer.
Thinks he can do I Will Survive better than Gloria Gaynor. Has YMCA moves.
Papa Anton is surprisingly understanding, buys him a suit for auditions.
But the singing career doesn't take off. Record executives just aren't too smart, apparently.
So plan B, the movie industry. Writer, director, star, the whole package.
Had ideas ahead of his time, he claims. Like Back to the Future Third, basically. Advertised for Betamax.
Gets a tiny part as an extra. 6 seconds on screen. Then gets sacked.
For striking. Over snack breaks.
Longer snack breaks, yes. He notes that now his snack breaks are as long as he likes. Success has its perks.
He thinks about politics for a moment, but then tragedy strikes.
Papa Anton falls ill. A bad headache. The doctor links it back to his boxing days.
It sounds serious. Gloomy prognosis.
Alexander sits with him all night, talking, telling mongoose jokes. Papa dies in the morning.
A really pivotal moment. Everything changes for Alexander now. He has to step up.
Right. Which leads into part 6. Success and Sergei.
After Papa's death, he's sad, naturally. Comforts his mama, but makes a promise.
To be the family's winner of bread. Takes responsibility.
Throws himself into it, learns the business inside out, with Stanislav helping during the day.
On business school at night. Hard on the beauty sleep.
That's modernizing, too. Putting Betamax projectors in the shops.
For better comparing. Popular for a while, apparently. 20th century tech.
Then Stanislav decides to retire, but he has a suggestion for his replacement.
His nephew, Sergei.
Sergei. His backstory is something else.
Former chief designer for the Meerkat space program. Lost his job and his medal for faking a moon landing.
Keeps a sad, tea-stained mug from those days. You got the picture.
Alexander meets him. describes him as shy, gray, bespectacled. They talk over pepperfly tea.
Sergei admits his life isn't very interesting, but he knows about the new stuff. Computer mabobs, online showing.
And Aleksandr has a vision. He sees the potential. Technology is the future for the business.
This is a key insight, isn't it? Recognizing the need to adapt, embrace new tech, even if the person bringing it is unconventional.
Definitely. He makes the momentous decision. Hires Sergei as head of IT, gives him an office in the storeroom, big computer mabob, daisy wheel printer. Sergei is grateful.
And Sergei gets to work, uploads 3 meerkats online.
Aleksandr sees it. This is it. The future. Slowly taking shape.
The official website launch sounds dramatic, though. Sergei works for ages uploading all the paintings.
Server mabob keeps breaking. Finally ready. Aleksandr presses the big button.
Okay.
Power cut. Everything's gone. Lost all the pictures.
Oh no. Sergei has to start all over again.
Yes. Aleksandr notes this is where Sergei's stress-related problems with worms began. Poor Sergei.
But they get there eventually. The site launches successfully. It's professional, dominates the market, no competition.
For a while. Then, disaster again. Sergei rushes in, all panting and sweaty.
Interference is on the website.
Yes. It turns out mongoose brains are confusing comparethemeerkat.com with comparethemarket.com.
Aleksandr is outraged. A terrible threat. An insult to his ancestors.
So what's the solution?
Education. Teach the mongooses the difference. Starting with, the names don't even sound the same.
Which becomes the message for his first TV ads.
It just shows, even with tech success, old rivalries and simple confusion can create huge problems. Need creative solutions.
And those creative solutions become the movies. Part 7, Modern Life and Legacy.
Right, the TV ads aren't quite enough, the confusion continues, so Aleksandr decides to up the ante.
Make epic 60-second films, telling the whole Orlov saga, courageousness, fearlessness, ambitiousness, using the ancestors' stories.
And who does he cast in the lead role?
Himself, naturally, playing his own ancestors, thinks he's setting a new standard for acting, deserves Oscars.
He directs himself too, loves telling people what to do, notes directing Sergei is like directing a blob of cheese.
Because Sergei cannot act. Aleksandr handles everything, writing, acting, directing, producing, spa treatments, draws the storyboards himself.
The filming sounds like an adventure in itself. Kalahari scenes involve method acting on the beach.
Limo gets stuck. Sergei has to dig it out. Yeah. Aleksandr has his Beetlejuice nearby. Tried a Titanic Jack Rose scene with Sergei.
Sergei wasn't keen, apparently.
Can't imagine why. For the battle scenes, they filmed on location in the Urals. Replica uniforms, paws sewn by Sergei.
Aleksandr plays Vitaly, Sergei plays Serge. They borrow soldiers, use mongooses found behind bins.
And the fur wound blood, tomato sauce, which Aleksandr then put in a sandwich. Resourceful.
And the Streets of Ambitiousness film set in Old Moscow.
Shot near the original shop site. Costumes, mud to look authentic, cast actual mischievous twins.
He clearly loves the movie-making process, talks about a future in Hollywoods.
After comparing meerkats, of course. Conquer the world with acting. Get a star on the pavement. He even has casting ideas.
Emilio Estevez to play him, Danny DeVito for Sergei. And it's no negotiation.
Classic Aleksandr. Then he brings us back to the present day. The Orlov family mansion.
The one Ivan lost, yeah. Aleksandr bought it back, restored family honor, and the carpets.
And Sergei explored the attic. Found all sorts of things.
Focalized scorpions, mongoose fur slippers, Vitaly's battle fork, a rocking wolf.
Puppet theater. Genuine Fabergé omelet. Got attacked by sparrows. Even's old balalaikas. Sergei felt right at home with the dust and fleas while cataloging it.
The mansion itself is described in grand terms, bigger than Buckingham Palace.
Apparently. 58 staircases, millions of doorknobs. Sergei's spring clean requires vast supplies, including allergy medicine.
It sounds enormous. Quad the size of a circus. Cinema with a pop cockroach maker.
Wardrobe full of cravats, falca to spot mongooses, telescope mabob. It paints a picture of eccentric luxury.
And all the rooms. Mirror maze, drawing room for archery practice, shooting fruit off Sergei's head.
Skittles corridor, karaoke room, secret rooms, gym, spa bath with fur blockage issues.
Okay.
Golf corridor where clocks get destroyed. Library with secret passages.
Real vault, fake vault, banquet hall, grub pantry. Sergei sneaks from. Kitchen where Sergei makes beetle broth. Panic room. Tunnel entrance.
It's less a list and more a flavor of this immense, slightly chaotic, history-filled place run, essentially, by Aleksandr and Sergei. The hedge maze had to go, though.
Sergei got lost in it for 3 days. Hedge mites.
Sounds about right. The newly refurbed bathroom has an Olympic-sized pool, though, and that whirly bath prone to fur blockages.
And the vintage Rolls Royce Sergei drives. Takes 25 minutes just to reach the gate.
It all builds this picture of current life, grand, historical, slightly absurd, utterly dependent on Sergei.
Aleksandr ends the main narrative saying he enjoyed dictating it, reminding us meerkats are amazing and diverse. Heroes versus computer types, unique like snowflakes or batteries.
And the appendix just briefly shows that diversity in the modern brand, Candycat, Bikercat, etc., showing how the business has expanded under Aleksandr.
And the very final word, a postscript from Sergei.
Just a short, slightly put-upon note about the typing, which Aleksandr immediately interrupts.
Needing help because his computer mabob won't switch on. Perfect ending. Sums up their whole dynamic.
It really does. Brings it right back to the present-day partnership built on this incredible, sprawling history.
So, yeah, we've gone from the Kalahari Desert, famine, pirates, through Russian battles, lost fortunes, gypsy camps, boxing rings.
To online business, IT problems, movie making, and a massive mansion run by this unlikely duo. It's a lot.
It really is an incredible journey packed into one meerkat's perspective. So thinking about all that, what part of this whole Orlov family history, or Alexander's telling of it, did you find the most surprising? Or maybe the most insightful?
Was it that sheer resilience? Bouncing back from disaster time after time? Or maybe Anton's weird path to success, boxing, comparing pictures, or just how they've woven this ancient history into a modern brand?
It definitely raises a big question about success itself, doesn't it? Alexander frames it all as courage, ambition, reclaiming honor. And he has achieved material success, the mansion, the business. But the story is filtered through his, let's say, unique personality.
Very self-promoting, definitely quirky, maybe skips over some details.
So what does this whole wild, unpredictable, sometimes comical journey tell us about what success really means? Is it just the stuff, the mansion, the money? Or is the real story in that stubborn Orlov ability to just keep going, adapt, survive, and stay uniquely themselves through centuries of absolute chaos? Something to think about.